What is up, guys? It's me again, James Dimaculangan from IT2105. Today our topic is number systems and IP address. Today we're going to talk about those two things, and I hope that we learn about those topics. And yeah, okay, now we will start discussing about IP address. The IP address stands for Internet Protocol. The address part refers to a unique number that gets linked to all online activity you do, somewhat like a return address on a letter you send out. Now, from this point on, it gets complicated fast and confusing. Information technology is crazy stuff, and it's best to left those who have to deal with computers and networks. Still, we're all on the internet these days, and it seems we're always connected through our personal computers, laptops, or mobile devices. And every time you go on the internet, an IP address is right there working for you. And with so much obscure information and misinformation, of course, out there about the IP address, it's helpful to know the basics. You probably know about what is an IP address is. A number that identifies that device on the network, but what else do you need to know? IP addresses are made up of 32 bits, that's IPv4 addresses. We normally think of an IP address or something like 1.1.1. But really, this can be translated into 8 binary bits. Each set of binary bits can represent only the numbers 0 through 255. That is why your IP addresses can range only from 0.0.0.0 to 255.255.255.255, and so on and so forth. By the way, the IP address that's right here, the 255 something, is called the end total ones. The network, because in binary it is represented by numeral ones. The ones addresses is used to send a packet to all devices on all networks, as long as it isn't stopped by a router first. IP addresses can be unique on your network, of course, because it's only your personal network. It's only your IP address. If two devices have the exact one IP addresses, you can have an IP address conflict, or a problem in your IP address in your network. When that happens, either devices or both devices will not work on the network. Commonly, is used to dynamically allocate IP address in hopes of preventing IP addresses duplication and the administrative burden of static addresses. Okay, now an IP address provides an identity to a network device on the internet, similar to a home business addresses that supplies a specific physical location with an identifiable address. Devices on a network are differentiated from one another through IP address. If you send a package to a friend in another country, you have to know the exact destination. This same general process is used to send data over the internet. However, instead of using a physical mailing address, the computer uses a DNS server to look up the host name to find its IP address. There are two types of IP address. The IPv4 and the IPv6. The IPv4 is the older version, while the IPv6 is the upgraded version of the IPv4. Okay, now what is the IPv4 and IPv6? One reason IPv6 is replacing IPv4 is that it provides a larger number of IP addresses than IPv4. When multiple devices on the same network are connected to the internet, it's important that there's a unique address available for each device. The IPv4 is address that are constructed means it's able to provide over 4 billion unique IP addresses. While this is a large number of addresses, it is not enough for the modern world with all the different devices used on the internet. The IPv6, on the other hand, supports 340 trillion addresses. That's 340 with 12 zeros. That's a lot of number. This means every person on Earth could connect billions of devices in the internet. There are specific types of IP addresses. While IP addresses are made up of numbers and letters, not all addresses are used for the same purpose. There are private addresses, public addresses, static IP addresses, and dynamic IP addresses. Here's the definition of private IP address. There are used inside a network. For example, a home network that is used by tablets, Wi-Fi, camera, wireless printers, and desktop PCs. These types of IP addresses provide a way for devices to communicate with a router and the other devices on the private home network. Private IP addresses can be set manually or assigned automatically by a router. While public IP address, these are used on the outside of a network and are designed by an ISP or your internet service providers. It's the main address that a home business network uses to communicate with the rest of the network devices around the world. For example, the internet. It provides a way of devices in a home, for example, to reach an ISP and therefore the outside world, allowing the devices to access websites and communicate directly with other computers and servers around the world. Both private and public IP addresses are either dynamic and static, which means that, respectively, that they either change or they don't. An IP address that is assigned by a DHCP server is a dynamic IP address. If a device doesn't support DHCP, then the IP address must be assigned manually, in which case it's called a static address. Okay, now guys, we're going to talk about the number system or the numeral system. Number system or system of numeration is a writing system for expressing numbers that is a mathematical notation for representing numbers of a given set using digits or other symbols in a consistent manner. The same sequence of symbols may represent different number systems. For example, 11 represents the number 11 in the decimal numerical system used in common life. The number 3 in the binary numeral system are used in computers, and number 2 in the binary numeral system, example, in tallying scores. The number represents is called the value. Ideally, a number system will represent a useful set of numbers, example, integers or notational numbers. Another is give every number represent a unique representation, or at least a standard representation. Last is reflect the algebraic or arithmetic structure of the numbers. For example, the usual decimal representation of whole numbers gives every non-zero whole numbers a unique representation of as a infinite sequence of digits. Beginning with a non-zero digit, however, the decimal representation is used for rational or real numbers. Such numbers in general have an infinite number of representations. For example, 2.31 can also be written as 2.310 or 2.31000000 or 2.30999999, etc. All of which have the same meaning except for some scientific and others contexts which greater precision is implied by a larger numbers of figures shown. Okay guys, that's it. That's it about number systems and IP address. I hope that you learned something in this video. Keep in mind that IP address and number systems are related. Not very much related, but they can come across in some occasions.